Hey everyone! Today, let's dive into the fascinating story of the Nabatean kingdom, a powerful empire that thrived in what's now modern-day Jordan between the 4th century BCE and 106 CE. The Nabateans are best known today for their stunning capital city of Petra, but their history is rich and full of intrigue. So, who were the Nabateans? They were originally Arabian nomads from the Negev desert who struck it rich by trading along the incense routes. These routes stretched from Caravan in modern-day Yemen, through the bustling trade hub of Saba, and all the way to Gaza on the Mediterranean Sea. The Nabateans became masters of these routes, using their expert knowledge of the terrain and water sources to transport goods more efficiently than anyone else. The iconic city of Petra, carved directly into the sandstone cliffs, wasn't built until the Nabateans had already amassed considerable wealth from their trading endeavors. Scholars have long puzzled over why they chose such a harsh and waterless location for their city, but it actually makes sense when you think about it. Petra's strategic position allowed the Nabateans to monitor and tax the caravans passing through, making them even richer. Plus, the city's inaccessibility provided a natural defense against potential invaders. In 106 CE, the Roman Empire, under Emperor Trajan, annexed the Nabatean kingdom. After that, Petra and other Nabatean cities like Hegra began to lose their grip on the incense routes and their overall influence in the region. The rise of Palmyra, a Syrian city, as a new trade center diverted much of the caravan traffic away from Nabatean cities. Even when the Roman Emperor Aurelian destroyed Palmyra in 272 CE, it was too late to revive the Nabatean economy. By the time of the Arab invasion in the 7th century CE, the once great Nabatean kingdom had faded into obscurity. The incense routes were essential trade paths that connected southern Arabia to the port of Gaza, flourishing especially around the 3rd century BCE. These routes weren't just a single road, but a network of paths merchants traveled, covering about 1,100 miles and taking around 65 days to traverse one way. Pliny the Elder, a Roman author, noted this long journey, which included stopping at various cities each night, not just for rest but also to conduct business. Cities like Mamshit, famous for its Arabian horses, became crucial stops where merchants traded goods. As some cities began imposing heavier taxes on traders, the routes shifted toward more trader-friendly locations. By the 3rd century BCE, Nabatean-controlled cities had become so integral to the incense routes that they couldn't be bypassed. These cities, such as Haluza, Mamshit, Avdat, and Shivta, not only offered goods but also provided comfortable accommodations for traders. Nabatean forts along the routes ensured the safety of merchants, but this protection came at a cost. By tightly controlling the incense routes, the Nabateans transformed their wealth as traveling merchants into an even greater fortune through strategic taxation and protection. And now let's delve deeper into their incredible wealth, unique customs, and the notable status of women in their society. The Nabateans became incredibly successful by mastering water control along their trade routes. While other tribes had to trade for water, the Nabateans ingeniously dug cisterns that collected rainwater, then cleverly covered and marked them with signs only they could recognize. This secret system gave them a significant advantage, allowing them to travel more efficiently and outpace their competitors. Petra, their famous city, was a marvel of engineering. The Nabateans developed an advanced system of dams, cisterns, and aqueducts to manage water, creating an artificial oasis in the harsh desert. This feat not only sustained their community, but also helped them rise to power in the region. The exact timeline of when cities like Petra and Hegra were built is unclear, but by the late 4th century BCE, these cities were well established. The wealth of the Nabateans drew the attention of powerful figures, such as the Greek general Antigonus I. In 312 BCE, Antigonus sent his son Demetrius to launch a surprise attack on Petra, pretending to be friendly. However, the Nabateans were prepared and successfully defended their city, eventually driving Antigonus and his forces out of their region. The immense wealth of the Nabateans was legendary, mentioned by historians like Strabo and Diodorus Siculus. Diodorus described their customs in his histories, highlighting their unique way of life. The Nabateans valued their freedom above all, living in the open air and avoiding permanent structures like houses or vineyards to maintain their independence. They believed that owning such possessions made people vulnerable to being controlled by more powerful forces. Despite their austere lifestyle, the Nabateans were incredibly wealthy, largely due to their control of the trade routes. They transported valuable goods like frankincense, myrrh, and spices from Arabia to the Mediterranean. Their deep knowledge of the desert and their hidden water reservoirs made it nearly impossible for enemies to pursue them, ensuring their safety and autonomy. Strabo also painted a picture of the Nabateans, noting some differences from Diodorus's account. For instance, he mentioned that they did cultivate grapes for wine and enjoyed it at banquets, though they drank in moderation. Strabo also highlighted their use of camels over horses, their simple clothing, and their democratic practices, where even the king would serve others at feasts. Women in Nabatean society held a significant and respected role. They could be priestesses, co-rulers, or even autonomous monarchs. Women had the right to inherit and manage property, own tombs, bring lawsuits, and represent themselves in court. They were depicted on coins and held esteemed positions in religious and societal structures. Some of the most revered deities in the Nabatean pantheon were female, such as Al-Uzza, Manawat, and Alat. In terms of religion, the Nabateans were polytheistic, worshipping a variety of gods. Their religious practices are not well documented, but it is known that they conducted ceremonies on temple rooftops and in private homes. Both men and women could serve as priests, though the exact nature of their roles and the selection process remains unclear. The Nabateans didn't create large statues of their gods. Instead, they carved images into doorways, temples, coins, and personal items like amulets and charms. Some of their primary deities included Al-Kam, the god of war and protector of the people, Al-Qutbi, the god of knowledge and divination, and Al-Uzza, the supreme mother goddess. Later, other important deities emerged, such as Manawat, Alat, and Dushara, the god of the mountains and the sun. Dushara was particularly significant, remaining a central figure even after the Roman annexation of Nabatea. And the Nabateans, though literate and skilled in the Arabic script, left no written history of their own. Instead, their story is pieced together from Greek and Roman accounts, their architecture, art, and brief inscriptions. As their kingdom grew, the Nabateans found themselves in increasing contact and conflict with neighboring regions. This period is marked by the reigns of several notable kings. One early king, possibly named Rechem or Rakhmu, lent his name to the city we now know as Petra. The Greek name Petra means rock, referencing the city's stone-carved architecture. The first historically documented king was Aretus I, who reigned around 168 BCE. Aretus I expanded Nabatean territory and supported the Maccabees of Judea in their struggle against the Seleucid Greeks. His reign marks the beginning of the Nabatean kingdom. Aretus I was succeeded by Aretus II, who reigned around 110 to 96 BCE. His rule saw conflict with the Hasmonean dynasty due to the Judean policy of expansion. The Hasmonean king Alexander Jannaeus destroyed Gaza and disrupted the Nabateans' control of the incense routes. Abodas I, who followed Aretus II, defeated Alexander Jannaeus in battle and reclaimed Gaza. He also defeated the Seleucid Greeks, killing their king Antiochus XII and scattering his army. Abodas I was deified by his people, as indicated by a memorial at his grave in the city of Uvdat. He was succeeded by his brother Rabel I, who was killed in battle, leading another brother to take the throne as Aretus III. Aretus III expanded Nabatean territory to its greatest extent, controlling trade routes from Syria to Arabia's southern coast. However, in 64 BCE, the Roman general Pompey invaded Syria, and his general Scaurus attempted to take Petra. Although Scaurus did not succeed, the Nabateans were forced to pay tribute to Rome to maintain their independence. Obotus II succeeded Aretus III but died shortly after taking power. The throne then passed to Malichus I, who became a vassal to Herod the Great. Obotus III, who followed, defended the Nabatean kingdom against Rome by cleverly misleading the Roman army through his chief minister Sylleus. Sylleus was eventually executed in Rome for treachery. Aretus IV, who reigned from 9 BCE to 40 CE, is considered the greatest of the Nabatean kings. He was known as Aretus, king of the Nabateans, lover of his people, and was revered as a great monarch. His wife, Choju, possibly reigned alongside him and continued his legacy after his death. Under Aretus IV, the Nabatean kingdom saw a peak in women's rights, arts, culture, law, and economic prosperity. His reign earned recognition from Augustus Caesar as an autonomous king. Aretus IV was succeeded by his son, Malichus II, who reigned from 40 to 70 CE. Unfortunately, Malichus II lost territories to Rome and failed to gain Roman respect, even after aiding in the suppression of the Jewish revolt. He was succeeded by Rabble II Soter, known as the savior of his people, though his reign saw further decline in Nabatean prestige and territory. Rabble II Soter was briefly succeeded by his sister Gamalath. However, by this time, the Nabatean kingdom's era had come to an end. Rome's power continued to grow, and in 106 CE, the Nabatean kingdom was annexed and became the Roman province of Arabia Petrae. Under Roman rule, the vibrant cities of the Nabateans began to fade. An earthquake around 363 CE caused significant destruction, weakening many of their once thriving cities. The region fell under the control of the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, which attempted to revitalize the area by establishing churches and restoring commerce. However, another devastating earthquake in 551 CE brought further ruin. By the time of the Arab invasion in the 7th century CE, these cities were long abandoned, and the Nabateans had slipped into the shadows of history. The Nabateans remained forgotten until the 19th century, when European explorers began venturing into the region. Their rediscovery of cities like Petra reignited interest in Nabatean culture. Throughout the 20th century, scholars and archaeologists flocked to the area, excavating and studying the ancient sites. Petra's significance was formally recognized in 1985 when it was declared a World Heritage Site. Its global importance was further cemented in 2007 when it was chosen as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. The Nabateans were exceptional masons, and their architectural prowess is immortalized in the magnificent structures of Petra. Their ability to seize every opportunity and adapt to the harsh desert climate enabled them to become the wealthiest kingdom in the region. Although they were forgotten for centuries, today, the Nabateans are celebrated as a highly developed and resourceful culture that not only survived but thrived in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth.